Hey guys, Ron here, and today's opposite day. That means I hate you and you should leave. But what if Pokemon could participate in this joyous day too? I'm not talking about making an evil poison type Togepi or type swapping any Pokemon into their opposite type for that matter. I'm talking about taking a Pokemon and creating an entirely new Pokemon that represents the complete opposite of whatever the original Pokemon's concept was. So like, what would be the opposite of Garbodor, the trash Pokemon? I guess a valuable Pokemon made of gold. I don't know, what would be the opposite of an unknown? A Pokemon based on numbers? Perhaps. I mean, there are already counterpart Pokemon that feel like opposites already. I mean, like Alakazam and Machamp, Brain versus Brawn, even Zangoose and Seviper. You get it. So make sure to leave a dislike and unsubscribe if you want to see more. And leave a comment with whatever opposite Pokemon you want me to potentially make next. Or I mean, don't do that. You know. Let's begin with this guy. I think we all fully understand what Pikachu is all about, so creating the opposite of our mascot would be fairly easy. What's the opposite of a yellow electric mouse? I suppose a blue water cat. If Pikachu is a cute and friendly creature, how about we make this aquatic cat aloof and super serious? Pikachu is an adorable mascot, and the opposite of that would be an edgy antagonist. Meowth was already depicted as Pikachu's opposite, what with it having the inverse dex number, but our cat will take it further beyond. So a game of cat and mouse is basically like a detective following a criminal. So originally I was giving it fur in the shape of a trench coat, but that naturally ended up looking like a zipped down wetsuit. The patterns of a wetsuit ended up looking like claw marks or the stripes on a big cat. Its whiskers are similar to those of a catfish, and it has chest fur adjacent to the beard of a pirate, but also the ascot of an intellectual. Almost like a detective that will stop at nothing to catch a Pikachu and then tear it up with its sharp claws. I made its ears incredibly streamlined so it's more hydrodynamic, but also they look like fins. The contrast of that white fur against the dark blue and black is super satisfying, but it also easily identifies its type. The white fur represents sea foam. Check out Sea Lion, the ocean cat Pokemon, a water dark type with the abilities Swift Swim, Stake Out, and Pressure. Sea lion are incredibly skilled swimmers and will pursue their prey for miles through the water. Sea lion are relentless and will follow their target on land as well, despite the risk of drying out their rubber-like skin, which helps them withstand electricity more than the average water type. Their eyes allow them to see in the murkiest of waters, and their tail and whiskers help them sense direction when they're flipping around at sea. They do not find joy in hurting others, but are overwhelmed with pride when capturing those they hunt. Sea lion will let their prey go if they are not hungry. They simply have fun chasing after those faster than them, and will take it as a challenge to surpass their limits, no matter the cost. I wish I could have the shiny be the real color scheme, but goddamn is the normal color scheme super appropriate. I think this ended up being a perfect antithesis to Pikachu, not only because of the design, but because it very much acts like the opposite of Pikachu. It's faster than a normal Pikachu, because it's fully evolved, but I made sure to make it slower than Raichu, and more specifically, a partner Pikachu from Let's Go, since I assume those are the stats of Ash's Pikachu, which this could totally pursue in a 1,000-episode-long game of cat and mouse. Furret is next. The patron saint of longness must have a short rival. I very much think the opposite of long would be round, so I looked up what the natural predator of ferrets are, and turns out it's owls. So a round owl, huh? I'm beginning to think it makes a lot of sense that Hoot Hoot and Sentret can be found on the same route, but I guess since that already exists, the next best predator is a fox. A round fox actually makes a lot of sense since they puff up in winter to keep warm. These are practically as round as a canine can be, so let's make one that is round year-round. So we're making a fox spherical. It runs around confronting others, but never really fighting them unless necessary. He's a real obnoxious guy. In fact, I'm kind of taking a bit of inspiration from an internet troll. That's why not only does it have a foxtail, but also a ponytail that also looks like a foxtail. Of course, it's obligatory for foxes to have multiple tails in Japanese media. This neckbeard inspiration is why it has a literal neckbeard. Dude is a basement dweller, and the patterns are basically inspired by Furrets too, so officially, it makes it Furret's counterpart, I guess. It's kinda hard for it to be all sneaky-like, so its colors are bright and bold, instead of muted like a Furret's. Say hi to Sfox, the round Pokemon. A fighting type with the abilities Fluffy and Ricochet, a new ability that causes the opponent to receive recoil damage when they make contact with Sfox. Sfox are extremely confrontational and will bounce around, picking fights with others. It is not the best at getting around. In reality, Sfox does not go all out and is all bark and no bite. You can tell when Sfox is actually intent on fighting when it stands still. In battle, it will hold steady and wait for the opponent to make the first move, only for their foe's attacks to bounce back. Fox often fall in love with pretty Pokemon and will vie for their attention by bouncing around. While this tactic almost never works, some find this silliness endearing. I mean, now that I think of it, it has multiple tails, so it's pretty Japanese and would make sense in a Japanese-inspired region like Johto, so it can, be right next to Furret. Absol is our next target. It's the disaster Pokemon, but it kinda already does the opposite. It doesn't bring doom, it warns us of it. So wouldn't the opposite of such a Pokemon be one that people trust but is actually pure evil? How about we make a sibling for Absol that is actually the disaster Pokemon that Absol tries to warn us about? If Absol is mostly white with a bit of black, let's make the yin to Absol's yang with a black Pokemon with a white face. What's funny is that I came up with the Pokemon in this video weeks before the DLC came out, so how about making it so that the Mega Evolutions of Absol actually secretly look closer to its powerful sibling, even matching its base stat total? So the idea is basically to make an evil big brother for Absol. It'll be far more vertical than Absol, with an inverted face. It'll be far more special than physical, so its paws will be skinnier without any claws, and most importantly, it won't have a scythe. Instead, it has a horn on the other side that looks like a withered tree. The hair droops down to juxtapose the horn and look like a yin-yang. Its face is more angular, and instead of straight fur like Absol, it has curly, almost biblical hair. I want this to look as close to the devil as a Pokemon can look, while still being constrained to the art style and lore of Pokemon. Its flowing back fur and hair reminds us of Mega Absol, and the segmented body makes its fur look matted and extremely old. It's supposed to resemble various motifs in biblical art from hundreds of years ago. The colors are inverted versions of Absol's. To be truly the opposite of Absol though, instead of black and white, this dude also has color. The light that it emits evokes the devil's name, Lucifer, which means light bringing. This is the true devil Pokemon, the one that history forgot. Beware Maliclips, the foretold Pokemon, a dark type with the abilities Pressure, Super Luck, and Dark Aura. This extremely rare Pokemon is believed to be the disaster that Absol warns humans about. Maliclips has disdain for those who are happy and will ruin the lives of those it is jealous of. Its pretty colors lull children into a false sense of security, but Maliclips doesn't go easy on young ones either. It is believed that the only Pokemon it once loved is Absol, but began to resent it after Absol started warning others of its evil plans. It now takes joy in the fact that Absol has been blamed for its misdeeds. It conjures up storms that destroy farmlands. The strong winds it controls can knock down entire forests. Perhaps a strong trainer can give Maliclips the good life it is envious of. Absol refuses to attack Maliclips, as if they believe that Maliclips will someday return to its original disposition. The shiny has RGB lights instead of CMYK color scheme of the original. I think I would like to leave it open as to the origins of this Pokemon. Its early relationship with Absol and what it was like when it wasn't so evil is all up to you guys, so perhaps you can speculate and theorize about Maliclips' lore in the comments. Garbodor is next. It's pretty easy to understand that the opposite of trash is treasure. That's why I mentioned it in the intro, I guess. But there is another Garbodor origin we also gotta invert. Trubbish is officially categorized as a cat by the Pokemon Company. Makes sense since it hangs out in alleys. So, to be completely faithful, our Garbodor rival has to be a golden dog. I'm gonna take a bit of inspiration from King Midas too, the tragic king character who can turn whatever he touches into gold. So we made a dog with a heavy crown that is able to stay upright by levitating. It's a golden retriever after all, so it has the face of one. It'll have this pearl motif around its body too, so its eyes are also just pure circles. Its tail is both a leash and a scepter, and its cape also has a gold in it at the end, inspired by the harnesses on a seeing eye dog. It is a psychic dog after all, it can see what we can't. I thought the face was already pretty realistic for a Pokemon, so I made the body way more cartoony so it doesn't look like a literal real-world dog. The colors are, as you'd expect, gold. It's very much inspired by an Ottoman sultan, pretty Middle Eastern looking. Behold, Regold, the valuable Pokemon, a steel psychic type with the abilities Levitate and Good as Gold. This good boy is surprisingly generous and will alchemize gold for its trainers. It doesn't touch others, not out of disgust, but because it is afraid of turning its friends into gold. The giant pearl on its head can detach. Regold will often play around with their crown pearl. These rare Pokemon are not found in the wild. They have been bred for generations by royalty. They rarely battle, but often study the sport and occasionally take part when they choose. They float above their opponent and whack them with their heavy tail before finishing them off with an impressive showing of telekinesis. I like the idea that instead of walking the dog, this dog actually walks its trainers by floating them around. It is the perfect Pokemon for a rich Pokemon, I guess. It is the perfect Pokemon for a rich person. It creates gold, looks fabulous, and can carry them around. I wonder if it actually feels bad for Garbodor, despite Garbodor not caring and even enjoying the fact that they live in trash. A Steel Psychic type Pokemon also would annihilate a Poison type, so it's good that Regold pities Garbodor. Fun fact, the shiny was actually the original color scheme. And finally, Applin. What's the opposite of an apple? A doctor, that's right. So you know how I love juxtapositions. What if we also did the opposite of the phrase, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, by making a doctor that can totally demolish a grass dragon type apple? A poison fairy type makes the most sense, and when I think of a poison doctor Pokemon, you know my mind wanders into plague doctor territory. But instead of a bird-like creature, why not get even more clever with it? What animals are associated with apples? Pigs. So how about a long-snouted pig inspired by peccaries, with their more wild and dark-furred look? In fact, many years ago, I made a little germophobic pig Pokemon with a mask that evolves into a dirty peccary. But what if the Pokemon we're about to make is actually a split Evo that expands on the mask and instead of becoming dirty, becomes a full-on doctor? Let's do it! So imagine a pig with a long snout, so it looks like both a gas mask and the beaked mask of a plague doctor, which is full of perfume. Its fur looks like a medieval garb. It's also partially inspired by a fantasy game Goblin. I gave its mask some ruffles on the bottom that not only make it look like a skull, but also the fur of a peccary. This is fur after all, not actual clothes. I gave it the exact colors I envisioned a Pokemon with this type and abilities would have, but off screen, I switched it with the shiny palette. I'll let you know why soon. This is Doctorn, the experiment Pokemon, a poison fairy type with the abilities Neutralizing Gas and Aroma Veil. This Pokemon can sniff out ingredients with its sensitive nose. It can retract its nose in order to prevent inhaling the fumes that its experiments produce. It wanders dirty slums in search of the sick. It produces curing potions, but only it knows how to utilize them properly. These medicines are practically poison to those who steal them from Doctorn. It carries its concoctions in the hood-like folds that make up its body. Though feared for its appearance, wise elders allow it into town to do its work. It is immune to poisons and tests its medicine on itself. It will avoid direct contact in battle by spreading blinding gas and throwing strong acids in its opponent's face. I thought it was a bit of a cliche to make a poison type purple again, so the black and green and pink felt more unique, while very much working with its inspiration. I'm glad I can finally make a more appropriate Evo for my beloved germaphobe pig Pokemon. And if you thought this video was beloved too, leave a like and subscribe for more Fakemon content. Check the description for the music I used, my socials where I post sneak peeks for my Fakemon, and my Patreon where you can get cool rewards like seeing my videos days early and discounts on my merch. And you can also get these rewards by clicking the join button and becoming a YouTube member. Make sure to check out my previous videos, and I'll see you guys very soon.